talk to me about money, and I'll take care of it for you.
All right, cool. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
No.
I'm going for it. I don't know. I just do it for me.
You do 5, 4. Showtime.
Learn something new every day. Gotcha. Well, now I got to get back into my zone.
Excellence in broadcasting, and I just screwed your whole thing up, so it's
all
awesome.
Right. Refocus, Erica. All right. What's up, Scoop Podcast? I'm your host, Erica Krupin, and on today's episode, I have the pleasure of chatting with John Pajak. Not only is John Pajak super funny, he's super educational, and he is going to drop some knowledge bombs today. Welcome to the show, John.
Thanks, Erica. It's a pleasure being here. I'm going to talk like you're going to say, oh, I'm so smart. I'm going to sound like I'm not so smart right now.
You're so SMRT.
SMRT, baby. Yeah. We got to shorten that up because that's too long of a word.
Right. Well, we're just coming off of recording over on his podcast, which is Project with Pajak. So
Profits with Pajak.
We just came off of recording with his podcast with Profits with Pajak. And clearly I can't speak today because my mouth is dry and I'm a little not caffeinated enough.
I got you all flustered with the count in. So you learned something new and it scrambled your brain waves. And now you're like, oh, what do I do now? So, yeah.
Well, this is how I feel when it comes to numbers and it comes to money in the business. So this is like a direct correlation to numbers because that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about some numbers today.
It's a nice segue. I like that.
Hey.
Well, a lot of times, people come to me and I coach them on how to start a business. Amongst many things, but I've got a program. It's called Budgets, Break-Evens, and Bottom Lines, and it really delves into like the fear that people have about operating their business. They might be great technicians, but they don't know the number side of it. And you keep hearing the term knowing your numbers gets thrown around a lot. Knowing your numbers could mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And I like to try to simplify that, hence the name Budgets, Break-Evens, and Bottom Lines. It's like, okay, numbers, we're going to focus on creating budgets for your business. We're going to find out what your break-even points are for all those services. And then we're going to figure out your bottom line, hence your profits, like what you can kind of call your shots, like Babe Ruth, point out to the stands and say, listen, I'm going to make this, and this is how I'm going to go about it. This is how I'm going to get that number, not just, taking some noodles and throw them against the wall and see what sticks. So
which most of us do. That's kind of what we do. But before we get into the meat of it, you're new to the show. So we kind of need to break you into the audience and tell them where you came from, because you're not from the pooper scooper community. You're from the green community. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about that. So tell our listeners, how did you get into the service industry?
Yeah, forgive me. I forget that I'm not all, people don't know who I am. And
we were all flustered earlier. We were just coming off of. Yeah.
I'm just getting too presumptuous. So yeah, I'm not from the brown industry. I'm from the green industry. But I'll give you the short and sweet of it. I've been in the green industry, which is mowing lawns, doing lawn fertilization, weed control, and associated tasks like that. I've been in that circle for over 25 years. It's been over 20 years. Let's just put it there. When I hit 30, then I'll say, well, I'll be in the business for over 30 years. I worked for someone else for a long time. And then I decided, I think I can make that kind of money because I was having some issues with bills and things. I'm like, I'm really good at what I do. I run his crews for him. I could start out making my own money, by doing my business. That failed very quickly. I didn't know my numbers. I didn't understand what it was to be a business owner. So I was a great technician, but I was terrible at money at that point in time. I understood personal finance, but I didn't understand what it takes to be a business owner. So let's flash forward. I go back and I have my tail tucked between my legs. I go back to mowing. I end up going to school again as a massage therapist, which I know is a weird jump. But once I did that, shortly, I was still working in lawn care. But then about I don't know, 6 months after I graduated, the college contacted me and they wanted to know if I could work for them as a lab tech, and I said sure. So I actually left the industry for a little bit. Was doing that, working for the college. Ended up getting overworked and underpaid. Same
Mm,
deal. And then I had the opportunity to go into construction, and I was a union laborer. When I did that, I was on the shovel, working as a 9 to 5er, but I was making good money, had good benefits, but I still had this itch of, I failed in my business. And it got to the point where I was kind of thinking about starting it up again. Good things happened though. When I started thinking about that, I ended up, they pulled me out of the field. I started out as a timekeeper, in the office. So I was taking care of multi trades, this company. I was taking care of all their timesheets and payroll and all this other stuff. So I kind of gained those skills. Well, then they started realizing, hey, maybe we can make would you be interested in estimating and learning how to estimate these $1 million projects and stuff? And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Well, because I had experience in the field and I also had the new skills of learning how to estimate, I was really successful in that. I mean, super successful. But the only thing was the company didn't directly hire me. So I made them a whole bunch of money. But when those projects ended, we didn't have anything for a while. They laid me off. And I started going back to different companies because that's how union contracting works. I got on with a different company and I started getting hurt. And it was because of my negligence. It was because of other people. They weren't looking out for each other. And, brothers should look out for brothers, but they just didn't care. And my daughter was about 2 years old at the time, and I was like, you know what, I never got killed or seriously injured in lawn care, so I talked to my wife about it. I said, listen, hon, I got this burn inside of me and I need to go back and scratch that itch. I had a failure way back then. I need to come back to it now. So I ended up starting my lawn care business. Great thing was, within a very short amount of time, I ended up helping others, like on Facebook groups and all these things. I used to have Whiteboard Wednesday and I'd help people figure out their numbers. And I started to realize like it all kind of things were really clicking into place. And then flash forward another little, maybe a couple more years, I started to actually charge for my coaching. And this is when I started to look back and go, I had to go through all these trials and tribulations in order to get where I am today. I had to fail in my lawn care business. I had to go to a different industry to learn all the like human resource skills and all the things I learned when I was at working for the college. I had to do that. I had teaching skills that I developed then, and now it's all starting to wrap around. It's like going back into construction, thinking about all the skills I picked up there, the timesheets, the payroll, HR stuff there, the ability to help and teach other people to do estimates like I did and win multi-million-dollar contracts. And it was just like, okay. And then coming back into my new business and it's successful and I'm helping others, I realized that the coaching tied everything all together. So this is a long story. This has been a long time coming, but finally, this is the path that God had put me on. And now I'm like, yes, I know that there's more things down the road. I don't know what's there, but as of right now, one of my biggest joys in life is being able to help other business owners understand what it really takes to get off the ground with their business, and not only to be, with a serving heart, but to actually become profitable so that they can maintain and be happy and be joyful with the services that they have decided to go into.
I can attest to the fact that you do have like a teacher's heart. We met for the first time face to face in Tennessee at the huge convention, and when we chatted, it was like we were old friends. Like we've known each other for like a long time. So yeah, you have that warm, inviting, and trustworthy presence about yourself. And so that is something that I think that's really important, because when you're talking about a small business, right? When we're talking about numbers, first of all, this is our baby. And then it can be embarrassing when we're running this business and we don't have a bunch of money in the bank account. We're spinning our heads and we're like, what's going on? It takes a lot to be like, hey, I'm running this business. Look through my books. Please tell me how much of a loser I am and tell me how to fix it.
I just want to make it clear, I'm not a CPA. I'm not a official bookkeeper by any means. I do all the books for our companies. That's just because I'm a nerd. I enjoy looking at spreadsheets all day.
You're such a
But
geek.
it's just. But the thing that I do is I really help people get over the fear. They're starting that business or they're in business for a long time. Most of the people that I coach have been in business for several years, and they're spinning their wheels. They're trying to get up that hill to that goal that they're trying to hit, and they just keep spinning their wheels. They don't know how to get traction on it. I like to say it's like I'm able to help them. Like, we review their goals too, so it's not like, okay, well, you just want to get here. Okay, well, why do you want to get there? What? Oh, we're on the wrong mountain, dude. You want to go? You want to go up this big hill over here. You don't want to go this way. But
yeah, you got to take the different stairs, and there's a lot more that goes into achieving this big goal. There's all these tons of little things that you got to do and skills you have to get to be able to even get there. Because I've been there. I've been guilty of wanting to, the big shiny thing, like the car that we just got. I wanted that, but there was other things that needed to be achieved before I was able to get that car.
You got to not compare yourselves to others. Focus on your own goals and focus on your path. I like to say that, if you're trying to get up this mountain in a two-wheel drive truck, probably you're not going to be able to get there. I like to help people shift it into four-wheel drive. Yeah. Put some good tires on this thing so that you're getting that traction you need to climb that hill and get to that goal that you're trying to hit.
What's the number one question that you get asked during your coaching?
I find that by having a discussion with them, one of the things that I find that they neglect to do, as opposed to the question that they're asking me, is, they're not paying themselves. They're like, well, I put everything into the business, and then if I have anything left over, that's what I take. It's like, well, do you have another business, or do you have a job or something that's taking care of you? It's like, well, yeah, my wife's job or this and that. It's like, so if you're just go to the next step, if you're going to hire somebody to do what you're doing right now, I don't care if you're scooping or if you're out there, putting down fertilizer or you're mowing lawns, whatever it is. It's like, can you find somebody to do what you're doing right now for free? And that's the burning question. It's like, well, no. It's like, okay, just from knowing that, I could probably tell you that your pricing is way off, and you're probably listening to somebody else, maybe one of these. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of useful advice out on the internet, but the problem is, if you're getting that for free, there might be a reason for it. It might not actually correlate with you. Because one big thing, and I know you're focused on the scooping business. But in the green industry, there's a huge company, and it's called Brightview now, and they're national. Before it was considered, there was two businesses. One was called Brickman, and the other one was called Valley Crest. When they were merging to become one big conglomerate thing, they had to release their numbers. And I was telling there's a small group of people, and I'm like, dude, they're merging. They've merged. They have to release all their numbers. And they're like, okay, like, who cares? And I'm like, I could take this data and I could figure some things out here. I could figure out what their profit margins are and what margins they're operating at. And they're like, I'm still not following you, man. I'm like, why? And I'm like, trust me, these KPIs are important to know, and it could really shine some light on the mystery of like how they charge for their services. And I did all the math, and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it, and it was actually, again, I'm like, maybe I'm doing the math wrong, but it was actually in black and white on their balance sheets and everything. Brickman was only doing like 1.9% profit. Now they're a multi-million-dollar company, maybe billion. I can't remember now. But it's like, if you're running $1 billion, you're making like just a ton of money, right? You're looking at like, oh, that's good. I want that top line. If you're making 1.9%, you're making like 19 million, right? That's still a lot of money, but this is national companies, right? So it's like some of them might be dogs and they don't even know it. And other franchises or other offices might be making up the deal, making it up. But it's like over across that entire thing, it's 1.9%. It's like, that's terrible. That is a horrible margin. And people are left and right. They are depending on the pricing of this gigantic company saying, well, if it works for them, it should work for me. I should charge that same price.
No, because if you're doing, let's say you're doing 100,000 or 200,000 and you're only profiting, was it 1.9%? I don't know what that is, but that's not
It's
nothing.
nothing.
It's
It's
nothing.
nothing. If you're 100K, I mean, you're like $1,900.
Yeah.
That's nothing when it comes to the big picture of it. So my emphasis there is to make sure that you're not, you want to know how to price your services. You can't just sit there and go, well, if they're charging it, then it's good enough for me.
When somebody's trying to figure out how to price their services, what are some things that they need to take into consideration?
You want to start with a budget. So this is going to tail into all these other things. The budget's going to be the roadmap to success. It's going to let you know like what it actually costs you to operate your business, but then you could use that to like achieve the goals you want to hit. So let's just say you did 100K in revenue, and then you say, listen, I think next year, this season, whatever it might be, I want to increase things by, I want to make 150,000. Okay. So you could take that, put that in there as the goals. Okay. We need to maintain what we have and we want to make an additional 50K. So that budget's going to help you figure out it's going to help guide you to it. But then again, like the next few things is, you want to know what your labor and your labor burden is. Okay. So you have to say, I'm going to pay myself first and foremost, even if you're not in the field, you have to pay yourself at least a fair market wage. And if you're more interested in that, I do have, on the podcast, I just had a recent episode that talks all about that. So a lot of owners don't pay themselves, and it's important that they do. So if you're going to have employees helping you out, and I would recommend getting employees quick as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because you're going to be overwhelmed very quickly, and you're like, I can't afford it. It's like once you figure out what you need to charge properly, and you have recurring clients or the volume of clients that you need to get you to that whatever goal you're trying to achieve, it's going to make it so much easier for you. So we're talking labor burden. You have to identify all the equipment that you're running. Scooping, I think, has a really low barrier to entry to where you could get by with pretty much everything. You could go to the Dollar Tree and probably get most of the things you need as far as like the equipment, or go to Home Depot or something.
You can pretty much start for under $100. Your trash bags, your sanitizer bleach, because you can bleach at any store, your bucket and your rake, and man, you're ready to scoop.
Yeah. You don't even need a car, really. You could just kind of ride around on a bike if you need to, if it's really close, and then you target a specific neighborhood. You could just get your exercise in because you're biking to each one, and you're walking the lawns. So
That's
it's like
a hustle right there.
that is a hustle, but at the same time, it's possible. So you don't have any excuse not to do it.
Yeah.
You could pick that out. But the next big thing, like we said, is the equipment. You need to find out what the recovery cost is for this equipment, plus like what the operational cost is. And I focus mostly on the green industry. So we're talking about, guys that have like lawnmowers and trailers and trucks and, spray equipment and landscape equipment, skid steers and excavators. I go from one, you could make a one-stop shop at Home Depot and get all your stuff, or you have to go to a specialized dealer to get your equipment. So we're talking about that. It costs quite a bit of money to not only say buy an excavator, calculate how long it's going to take to replace that, but then it also has operating costs on it as well. So it's like, yeah, my payment, I secretly sneak this in. I basically show them how if they make these payments, eventually they'll have enough money in a shrinking account to where they could buy the next one for cash, and it's not going to ding them.
That would be smart, even like with a vehicle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if okay, you have a scooping truck right now and it's got like 70,000 miles, and that you're going to need to purchase another one, you could put money away for the future truck.
Exactly. It's like you're basically making a payment to yourself instead of some dealer or something where they're going to, 0% financing, but they already calculated financing into it. It's kind of a facade of like, oh yeah, you get 0%. No, they jacked up the price on you. It's just a way of them moving metal. But
Oh,
anyway,
trust me. Well, I got car payments right now, and I'm not smart about it. Like, I
mhm,
need to not do that.
we buy very good used trucks. I don't really like using brand new trucks. That's just me. There's other guys that are like, I buy a new one every year because I get to write it off and all this other stuff. And I'm like, okay, no problem. That's your thing. Just for those that are still like, oh man, am I going to have to buy a $70,000 truck to do this? It's like, no, you don't have to. But if you want to do it the next time, you could, and you could probably do it with most of the paid off. You've saved enough up. But those things cost money to operate, so it's like fuel and oil and just general maintenance and everything. That all gets calculated in. You need to also focus on your fixed expenses. The world that I'm coming from, a lot of guys have their own shops. They're not working out of their house. They have to have either a shop, or like me, I have multiple storage units. I have like a whole block of them because I need X amount of space, and you got to cover those rents. You got to cover everything that is related to your business. To open the door on Monday, how much does it cost you?
Now, question.
Mhm.
Let's talk about pricing for a storage unit or shops. What is that looking like month wise for a storage unit?
In my area, I'm in Northwest Indiana. I'm not too far from like Chicago. I have 10 by 20s and 10 by 30 units. And a 10 by 30, I think, is 250 a month. And then the 10 by 20s are, I forget, like 180 or something. It's,
Okay, yeah,
you know,
it's a little bit up there. So, and then what are you seeing where guys that have a shop, nothing super crazy, nothing
mhm.
super big. Like what are their rent payments looking like?
If they're renting one, they could just lease one, and they're probably paying about 12, 1500 a month on a smaller shop.
Hmm.
I've got a friend competitor in the area. There we compete with each other, but at the same time, we refer work to one another, and we're cool. His shop's about like 3K. He's bought it though.
Is it
It's
larger
big.
or?
The shop itself is a decent size. It's I forgot the square footage on it, but he also owns the property plus the shop itself. That way, he has yard space for all his materials and all the vehicles that they have, and plus employee parking. It's a commercial lot. I think he got a great deal on it at the time, because right now I don't think he could even touch it. I have another friend that wants to build, and he's really looking.
Well, that's what's tough too, because when you were talking about hiring as soon as possible, okay, we're working alone, we're working out of our house, and then we start to hire, and then we start to get more vehicles. Like me, I can't have all these vehicles outside of my house. Like it's the neighbors are gonna be like, what the heck? So it's like when do you figure out how to do that? How do you know if you can afford it? This all
Hmm.
kind of comes into play with that budget and thinking for the future.
Exactly. You don't want to, like a lot of guys that I walk through this with. I try to always make sure that they're not just calculating for where they're at right now, because I have the experience. I'm like, look, you're really at the precipice of something bigger now. So you need to be focusing a little bit further down the road. So even if you don't have it right now, let's say you don't have a shop, you may want to start calculating for that in the future, because you're going to have like either a brick and mortar place, or you're going to have someplace off site. Like for me, the reason why my rent is so high is because I have like 5 units, plus I have parking spaces on there, because originally the employees were coming to my house and parking in my parking lot, or not parking lot, they were parking in my driveway.
Hmm.
And it was just, and then I started having problems where they would bother my wife or something, and I started realizing like these guys get disgruntled. I don't really want them coming to my house, maybe having an encounter with my daughter or my wife. It's like, no. That's one of the big reasons why I moved it out of like my personal. Well, I grew out of it very quickly, but same thing is like just growing out of it, plus thinking ahead, going, yeah, I need to get some parking spaces. So the guys show up, we pull the truck and trailer out of that space, and then they're big enough to where 2 vehicles could park end to end. That kind of solves that problem. So it's, just little things you figure out as you start to grow. Yeah, if you're going to move into that, and you're at that point where you're about to grow like that, you should start recalculating your pricing structure, adding those things in.
And like we talked about over on your episode, where we talked about how when we first start our business, a lot of times we're pricing it as if we're going out. We're pricing our stuff as we're a person. But we have to get to a point where we are pricing things as a business. So a business is being sent out to do this service. So what does it cost to operate that business?
When you start calculating everything, and like another thing that people miss out is the marketing. They
Hmm.
go, oh, I'll just use the profits to market. It's like, no, 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 no. This should be a thing that's in your budget to help you grow. If you start calculating everything out and you start seeing a number that's bigger than what you ever anticipated, that's probably because you're still stuck in like an employee mindset. You're still stuck in not a business owner's mindset of, oh, that's too expensive. Nobody's going to pay that. I come up with hourly rates, and then you have that hourly rate. There's no way I'm going to make $500 an hour. Well, hang on a second. If you have additional people, it kind of gets split up, and you got to remember, it's not just you going out there and doing it. Each crew, it starts to hack down like the overhead distribution. So if you're looking at your fixed expenses, it's not like as you get more people and all these other things that you necessarily have to grow out of that. But when you start looking at it, you could be like, oh, well, instead of it being, overhead recovery is, $50 per man hour. Okay. Let's just put it that way.
What's
That's not your
overhead recovery? What is that?
for all your fixed expenses. So,
Okay.
like we were talking, your rent, your utilities, your property taxes, you have shop supplies, you have tools that only stay at the shop, stuff that's not billable on the job. So, if you're looking at like your bags in the scooper industry, right? You're looking at your tools and those things and your consumables like your booties and your gloves and your uh, garbage bags or trash bags and things like that. Those are all consumables and those are variable expenses. Because what if you have like a huge place and you're picking up, bull, a bunch of
Yeah.
bull poop, right? Well, it's not going to be two plastic bags. It's going to turn into, hey, we're going to need some wheelbarrows and pitchforks and stuff like that. So
A dumpster.
a dumpster, exactly. That would be a job specific thing, right?
Okay.
But like if you have, let's just say you have a pressure washer at the shop and you hose down all your boots all at once and you hose down all of your buckets and everything, that's not on the job, but that's something that you have it still works in your business. It's like those type of thing that might fall under like shop supplies or shop tools.
Okay.
Okay. So like all these different things that you have like laid out, that would be part of like your overhead, your fixed overhead. It doesn't change from month to month. It's just no matter what, to open the keys to, the poop and scooping business, it costs X amount. Okay. So you just need to recover that. It's something that the customer doesn't see, but you do. If you price just for what you're doing, like, oh, it's just a guy goes out there, a lovely lady goes to my yard every week and she picks up all the pet waste. Well, most people look at it and go, oh, well, she's here, she makes a wage, and then they throw a little on it for profit, and that's how they came up with their price. That's not how you do it.
Exactly. And some people will be like, well, I'm not paying you, let's say, I don't know, $20. $20 per service. That's ridiculous. I'm not paying you that. I said, well, you're not paying me $20. You're paying the company
Hmm.
$20 a week to scoop. And then sometimes when you put that into perspective, they're like, oh, yeah, it's a company. But it's hard for people to see that. Um, it's one thing about the customer, but us as the business owners, we need to see that and we have to feel it and believe it every
Exactly.
day.
I mean, look, you just got that new car. It's got that beautiful wrap on it. I think that it was probably for your industry, that was probably an incredibly smart thing to do, because now it's not just like, oh, I pulled up in a Toyota Corolla with a magnet slapped on the side that, later on in the day, you're going to peel that off and put like Erica's cleaning service, maid service on there. And you got a whole stack of them in the back. It's like, okay, I'm going to be a nanny. I'm going to be a da, 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 da. It's like, no, hey, whoa, that beautiful pink car that's out there. That's all they do. It's not like they're going to change out on me.
No,
And
we're legit. Like this is what we do. We are a professional service.
that's part of marketing. Like if you were to recover that, you say, hey, you know what? I had a $3,000 wrap put on my car. Well, that could be part of your marketing budget. along
Yeah.
with any printed materials, any Facebook ads, any Google AdWords, just promotional items, just a ton of different things. I had one guy that he started doing TV ads in his area because he was a pretty big company. He uses Mountain, I think it's this really cool thing. I was like, so even though you and I don't live in the same area, you're in Eastern time in Michigan. I'm over right on the edge of Central time in Indiana. You and I could be watching the same show. Like, say we're watching Yellowstone, right? And they have commercials going on. It would basically have Krupin's Poop and Scoopin' commercial on yours, and it would have my company, my lawn care company, showing on mine.
Ah,
And
okay.
you could localize it. Like, obviously you're still reaching out to a huge customer base, but like, let's just say you had either you're franchised, you had multiple franchisees, or you had like just a huge service area. You had like 70 trucks or 70 cars running around the same way that yours looks, and they covered a huge area. You got to think about that. You got to think about those things. I know most people are like saying right now, dude, you're nuts. I would never have any commercials, TV commercials, or radio ads. But these are things that some companies have. They do this. They explore it. So why not plan for it? If you're going to
Hmm.
be if you're going to be a national company, think of, there's companies out there that you could say, I don't want to give them any props because, they're big national companies. They got enough going for them. I want to focus on the people that provide local services to their communities.
So, say for instance, okay, we're getting it figured out. We have our fixed cost. We're paying ourselves a fair market value, but we're like, okay, we got all this, but now we need to hire somebody. So now we need to figure out how to move us up, right, or wherever we're going. Say for instance, we're paying ourselves $1,000 a week because we
Mhm.
need to make $52,000 a year to cover our bills, but we still need to make that even though we're not in the field. What's that process looking like to be like, all right, well, we need a lot more money coming in?
Any business is going to require volume, no matter what. Okay. Even if you have the perfect price point, you need volume at that price point. To answer your question really quick, I'm going to double back to your owner's pay. Right.
Mhm.
If you could set that up as a salary in your fixed expenses, because if you're a non-direct employee, like you're in the office, say you have instead of using a virtual service, let's just say, even if you use a virtual service, you have that in your fixed expenses because every month it's going to be X amount of dollars to hire this company. Instead of having somebody come into your business and sit there at the phone all day, the virtual desk can take care of it. But let's just say you did have, somebody come in and they man the phones for you. You have to have their salary in there. And
Mhm.
that could be part of the fixed expenses, not the direct hourly rate that everybody else is paying. Like you're paying your guy. I don't know what you pay people per hour, but if you're paying somebody $18 an hour, $20 an hour, whatever it might be, that is, the hourly rate, and that fluctuates. Okay.
Yeah, and you're paying somebody $20 an hour, which we talked about this on your pod.
Mm-hmm.
What you're actually paying them is much greater with taxes and the workman's
Workman.
comp and all of that stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
you need to budget in. What is that? What did it come out to? Like 23 or $24 an hour?
It all depends on where you live and like what your taxes are. So like, you're looking at FICA. FICA is a fixed amount and it's 15.45 if I remember correctly. Then you have your state unemployment tax act, and FUTA is your federal unemployment. Federal unemployment is set at 6%. Your state's going to vary, and it's also going to vary on your track record as a business, how many times you lay people off. It has a different rate. But then you also have to workman's comp. If you have a business and you have W-2 employees, you have to have workman's comp. If
Mm-hmm.
you don't, it's going to cripple your business if something happens. Say it's even something simple, like somebody sprains their ankle and they report it. It's going to come back on you tenfold.
Yeah, I always
Just
say not if you're going to need it, it's
when,
when you're going
yeah.
to need it because you will eventually.
Just the recent past, you had that vehicle accident, and that was, you know, unfortunate. And I hope the person that
Mhm.
was in that accident is doing well.
Yeah,
Uh,
she is. I also say you don't need insurance until you need it, and thank goodness I
exactly.
had the good stuff
Sure.
because it got totaled out and they covered the entire total.
Yeah. But, going back to like figuring out your labor burden, it's not just $20 an hour if that's what you're paying. It is going to be maybe it's 24, depending on all the taxes. And then if you also have benefits, like you mentioned, you offer a match, a simple Roth IRA with a 3% match.
Correct.
Well, you have to calculate that into there as well. So,
Mhm.
if you have dental or medical or paid vacation, things like that, you have to calculate all that in there. So some people say, oh, you got 19% over what the pay is more. But I've dealt with people that have like it's 25 or 29% over what they're paying to cover all their entire package. Like when I was a union laborer, our base pay was like 35.26 an hour, and then with our all our benefits, it was like $52 an hour. Like we weren't getting paid $52 an hour by any means, but you get where I'm coming from.
Yeah, that's what it
So
equates to. They call that like the golden handcuffs too. That's the reason why a lot of people don't want to leave those cushy jobs because of the benefits.
yeah,
Mhm.
and I mean not all of them are cushy, but at the same time, there's I get it. Guys that are fed up, they just don't want to leave because they'll lose their retirement or they'll lose the benefits they have. And as business owners, especially if you want to add something like health insurance, it's
Mhm.
pretty expensive, especially if it's a very, very small company. I've run into this where guys are like, oh, yeah, you got to be a gigantic company. I'm like, actually, the bigger the company you have, the easier it is to get health insurance. And because it's distributed amongst the pool, it's more affordable in a way. So if you have a company that has 10 or less people, it's pricier than it is to have 20 people.
I've looked it up. It is really expensive, and that's
Yeah.
the reason why I don't offer it because I can't afford that right now.
But then if you got to get out of that mindset too, if it's too expensive, you remember everything that your business does, the customer pays for it.
Right.
Whether you find the right customers, like maybe it might be a bit limiting in the scooping because uh, you know whatever your price point is, I know it's a lower price point and you need a high volume of clients to be able to justify it, because it's like, oh, if I'm charging $20 a visit and I only have 5 people for the day, well, that's $100. It's like that doesn't even pay
Uh,
me.
no, so it'll be like $20, and then we're doing between 25 and 30 houses a day per technician.
Hmm.
That's what the goal is. And then if you have, say if you got 5 technicians out there, baseline making $20 per stop, like you said, the volume starts
Right.
adding up.
You got to make sure you get think about route density. It's like
Hmm.
I want to dominate this neighborhood. I want to go out here and everybody sees my pink car and they're running to the car to sign up and get us going. That way it's like I can park the car once, maybe move it down the street so I don't have to walk so far when I make my way back. But you could do, 3 on one side, cross the street, do the other 3, move the car a little bit, do the same thing. So every stop you're doing 5, 6 lawns at a time.
So what should somebody do? Say, for instance, they're in that earlier stage. They're kind of just in that mindset of like, oh, I'm just going to figure it out. Should they start doing some research, calling around, seeing how much this other stuff costs so they can get an idea to put it on the sheet?
Here's a helpful thing, and hopefully your listeners, if they're in the scooping business, do this. I use a tool called datausa.io. It's free. It's not like you pay for it in any way, but what it does is it helps me find my client avatar. So like the people that I want to work with, it's not based on race, creed, color, anything like that. What I'm looking at is if there's a town that I have a feeling is profitable. I want to make sure it is. I want to make sure that, because this service, it's not, even though you're scooping poop, it's still a luxury service. So you're saving people from having to do it on their own. There's some people that actually need it as a necessity because they can't do it themselves. But for the most part, I would probably guess that more than 50% of your clients they just don't want to deal with it, and that's why they hire you. You're providing a service, a solution to their issue.
Hmm.
So what I like to do is I go, okay, well, where is a good place? I don't know. I could look at houses, but that could be deceiving at times. So I use datausa.io, and I don't get any affiliate or anything with that. So if you're wearing a tinfoil hat and you think I'm just trying to get you to sign up for something, it's not like that. But you could put in like the town that you're wanting to get into, right? And you could compare two towns at the same time, and you can see how what I'm looking for is the household median income and the household median home value for like my services. They're a bit pricier, but I could see who could actually pay for this, who has the disposable income that they could actually utilize our services. That's one good way of looking at it. You could see, okay, if you're, the median income is 50,000. Well, yeah, maybe they'll use your service, maybe they won't. When you start seeing median incomes that are like 80, 90,000, 110,000, then you're probably in the right area. And then you start looking at the home values, and you go, well, people don't want dog poop hanging around a $1 million house. If you find a place where it's like, yeah, the $750,000 home is the median price, it's like, okay, well, maybe that's the place I should be targeting. Once you identify an area, be tenacious, get in, if you get a foot in the door and you already have clients there, it makes it so much easier because you could build much quicker. And what we would do is, and this could be applicable to you as well in the scooping service, we would service our clients, and then we would do this thing, and it's got multiple names, but like some people call it clover leafing, other people call it 5-arounds. We have a 5-round and a 9-round. Let's just say you have only one house on that block, so you're parked right in front of it. You would go for a 5-around. You would go to the neighbor to the right, maybe cross the street. You hit the 3 houses across the street directly, and then you come back and hit the house on the left-hand side of your current client. So you made 5 stops, and you're just putting door hangers out there. And maybe you have, what works for us is because we're a fertilization weed control company, we have signs that we plug into their lawn after we're done. So if we're doing a 5-around, they'll see our sign, and all of our marketing material is very similar. Like you could see our logos on everything. So if they're like, oh, okay, well, this came in, they're like, wait a second, hey, Reese across the street, he's got that same logo and it's in his lawn. And man, look at that lawn. That lawn looks good. It'll help you, pick up some. A 9-around is the same concept, except you go 2 to the right, 2 to the left, and then you have the 5 across the street. So you're tacking on, it's 9 stops or 9 cards you're passing out at once.
So how often are you doing that? You're not going to be doing that to each weekly customer every week, right? Would you do it like once a quarter?
With fertilization weed control, we're only there every 4 to 6 weeks. So during the hot time when people are like wanting to do it, and it's kind of hard to do it sometimes, but if I go, listen, I really want to crack more heads in this area, in this neighborhood, I want to close on these. I'll say, listen, I know you already got enough stuff, but we need more in this area. We need to make this route more dense. So during that hot time when people are looking for the service, we have a ton of KPIs and data that kind of lets us know when most people are ordering. That's when we would generally do that. If you're pressed for time, hey, maybe a 5-round, maybe if you just hit the neighbor on either side, that's enough. But it's been a very good method for us to really increase how many clients we have in a specific block. Because it's like right now, I think like we have at least 2 clients for every time we drop the gate on the trailer. Most places it's like 3, 4, 5 in one stop. We don't have to move the truck. We can just get out, go do our job, and then wrap up and go. And that saves a lot on windshield time. That saves a lot. It makes your productivity levels increase because you're not having to load up and do all these things. You could just basically stay in one neighborhood for an entire day and make a killing.
Yeah, that's nice. The most I have in one neighborhood is 3 houses, because I probably need to get better about the 5-arounds. When people are ordering marketing materials, obviously you got to figure out where you're going to get them from. If you're trying to get more bang for your buck, should you order from somebody from local or should you order online?
I got lucky. I was blind to it for a long time, but I did find a local printer, and they are very competitive as far as like what I could get online. Now, there's services like Vistaprint, which I've used, and I've had great luck with them. But basically, the secret is Vistaprint doesn't really print anything off. They have all these mom and pop shops. Depending on where you live and what product you're ordering, they would probably, go to him and be like, hey, listen, can you print this off? And that's kind of the deal. It's like, Vistaprint doesn't necessarily have like, they're not taking in a million orders and then processing them and then sending them out. They're sending it out to local print shops. I find that, sometimes the best, you get better deals with a service like that. And other times you find better marketing, pricing for marketing material better at your local shop. There's a couple things that play into that. Some of it is the volume. If you're ordering like 500 pieces, it's actually more expensive to order 500 than it is to order 1,000 or
Yeah.
5,000.
I learned that too. And, when you're just getting started and you don't have a budget, right? You didn't plan ahead. You're like, I only got like $200 to spend. But if you could just have, $400, you could get way more product.
Just make sure that you're also spending that wisely,
Hmm.
because I've screwed up before where I would buy all my flyers or the door hangers or the postcards for my, I don't do EDDM, but I target my market. That's a whole nother big conversation we could have in the future. But there are programs out there that allow you to do that. And it's really cool. Like the one that I use is Send Jim. It's a really cool product. It costs more per piece, like if you're sending out a postcard, but you're not sending it out to, like, if you go to the post office and you get on their EDDM, which is every door direct mailer, that program, it's not sending it to clients that you don't want. They might send it to like apartment buildings where the people that would get it, you might get 20 postcards in one unit, and they have no deciding factor on how, if they would buy your service. So with this, it allows you to kind of pinpoint who your audience is and who gets it. Like, let's just say you only have $200 to spend on your marketing. Whatever quantity you get, let's just say it's like 2,000 postcards. Don't send it out to 2,000 people and then just think, yeah, I'm gonna be good.
Yeah.
In today's day and age, like before with marketing like that, it used to take 7 touches, which means people would have to see your name, see your logo, or they'd have to see your business 7 times before they even formed an opinion on it. But nowadays, with all this cluster of things that we see every day, you're getting, sometimes I sign up for stuff and I get 3 emails a day from the same people trying to sell me on something, and it's like, ugh, it actually repeals me. If you do it smart, there statistically I found it's like you pretty much have to show something 21 times. You have to present yourself
Dang.
21 times before people make a decision about you. And like with our marketing, I've kind of got that split between print material and online marketing. Also because I target the neighborhoods I'm in.
Hmm.
Not okay. They're seeing us physically by like seeing our uniforms. They see our trucks. They see the signs that we leave behind. They might see a door hanger, and also they would probably end up getting a postcard mailed to them. And then we have a way of targeting like their Facebook. If they're in this area, we geo fence everything. So like if they're on Facebook, they'll start seeing our ads there. And it's like, I see this guy online. I see this guy in real life. I see him all the paper stuff. It's
I
like,
seen them lined up at the gas station when I'm getting
exactly
gas in the morning. That because
right.
we live in our communities that we service and we rep our stuff. And they'll be like, "Hey, I seen your car, Krupin's pooping, scooping." I'm like, "Oh yeah, I forgot I have my shirt on."
Yeah.
Uh huh.
So all those things come together, and it turns into like, yeah, okay, they feel like they trust you already. It's like,
Hmm.
yeah, I see you everywhere. So how much is it? Blah, blah, blah. This is what the problems are, and I'm like, I don't focus on the price. I focus on solving their problem. And then when you have that approach, it's just kind of like, I hate sales, but it's necessary. It's the lifeblood of our
Oh yeah,
business.
yeah.
So when we're going about it, it's just kind of I could sell without being salesy,
It's
and
an
it's
art.
yeah, it's almost closed before I get off the phone. It's like the deciding factor is, are you willing to pay the price, and that's it. I could
I think we bunny trailed a little bit because I'm gonna have to wrap this up because I gotta go get that other car. I'm getting that car wrapped
yeah,
today.
yeah.
I know, and so I'm like looking at the time, but I want to make sure that we hit the 4 points. We hit the 4 points of the fixed price. Your
Hmm.
right, and then did we hit the other three? I don't know if we got there.
Yeah, labor and labor burden, your equipment,
Hmm.
your fixed expenses, and marketing. So
Okay, so that's the four.
yeah, we're pulling it all into a nice tight bundle.
Yeah. So when our listeners, when you're like, I don't know how to do a budget, you want to write down those four things and then really spend some time, really think about it, and put some time and attention into writing that stuff down.
The last thing I'll leave with you is if you're doing a budget, just, look at your bank account too.
Mhm.
However you're paying for things. It's like, what are your recurring expenses? That has to go in there.
What
Yes,
do you
sir.
say to those
Yes,
people
sir.
that are like,
Yes, ma'am.
I pay cash. I pay cash for a lot of stuff, and then I stick the receipt in my pocket, and I don't know where it goes.
As a business owner, you have to be better at you're recording your payments and recording your expenses. You could use a CRM that will help you do all that. I know you're a jobber ambassador,
Yeah,
and I'm a yard book guy.
it's all right. That's all right.
So, hey,
We're all
listen,
doing business.
we're doing business, but I've been doing that for a long time. I teach people how to use that system as well. No matter what you do, I don't care if you're recording in a log. I'm a total nerd. Like, I still write down all
You're
my
such
stuff.
a geek.
So I like having it written down in my ledger, but of course I take care of. That's what I do in my free time.
Yeah.
Because
Really?
it's relaxing to me. It helps me decompress. But when I look at the CRM, I could track all my expenses in there, all my payments, and it makes it easy.
I'm always sliding my card. I don't pay for anything with cash because for me, that's when issues start to happen. So it's either on the business credit card or on the business, like actual, like bank account card.
Sure.
That way it's getting tracked through QuickBooks. And then my accountant has access to that,
Mhm.
which is nice because then he's like, hey, what's going on here?
Exactly. But yeah, just to sum things up, it's like the budget is your roadmap to success, and it's one of the most important things that is overlooked too easily. Like, people don't, they expect that one day they're just going to wake up and they're going to be successful, and but it doesn't happen. You can't accidentally fall into success. I mean, some people do, but for most of us, you have to plan it. You have to prepare for it. You have to plan it and execute. All those things are very important, but you could have the perfect plan, but if you don't execute on it, you're not going to achieve anything.
I 110% agree because I have 40 candidates in my lineup to hire, like to interview, and I need to hire, but I'm scared. Like, I don't know why I'm so scared to call them, but I'm like, execute, Erica, you have to do it.
Just call one person and have them meet you at a coffee shop.
I'm doing phone interviews. And
Okay, well, I'm just saying, I generally tend to meet people in person because I need to get a better feel for them. But yeah, just execute one. Just get one. Go one a day. It's going to take you 40 days to go through all of them, but that doesn't matter. Once you start getting your wind underneath your wings, you're going to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, bam. We're done in 8 days. Done.
Ooh, that sounds nice. All right. Well, you guys apply that information to your budget. If you don't have a budget or your budget's kind of messy, it's something that you have to do as a business owner, as a responsible business owner. It's a necessity.
And I don't know if I could just give a quick plug to myself.
Yes, please do.
So if you're interested in learning, just kind of getting a better feel for your numbers, I'm not going to tell you to go to my website, johnpajak.com, to sign up for Budgets, Break-Evens, and Bottom Lines. But I do have a podcast. It's Profits with Pajak. That's free, and it drops every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And we've been consistent for pretty much a whole year now. So coming up on my 1 year. Coming up on my 1 year. Yeah.
Congratulations. I know podcasting ain't easy, and especially if you're doing it 3 times a week, that's crazy.
Yeah.
No, but I truly appreciate the information. And for the listeners, definitely go out and check out his Instagram and check him out online. He's got a lot of good information, and his podcast it's chill. So if you're just in a mood where you just want to listen and you want to digest and you want to like hang out with John, it's an excellent podcast. I'll be folding my laundry listening to your pod. So
thanks.
Yeah.
I try to keep it business specific, but yeah.
No, you do a really good job, and you explain things thoroughly. And that's what I truly appreciate, because I'm like, wait a minute, let's rewind that for a second. Let me digest what he just said.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right, you guys. Thank you for tuning in. I try to drop an episode every Monday. And until next time, bye.